Oh. For those of you watching the recording, all I've said so far is hello, and we're going to talk about MECK Pre-K. So you haven't missed anything. Can you go back to the administrative team list though? There we go. So we are a 1000% funded county program. The county awarded the contract to Smart Start to be the administrators of this county program and these county dollars. So Smart Start, for those of you not familiar, is a state of North Carolina nonprofit started many years ago by Governor Hunt as he was leaving the governorship to care for young children and families in the state. So we are a statewide organization. There are 75 branches, if you will, or local offices that serve all 101 counties. And so we are one of the larger ones. Smart Start in Mecklenburg County is right here in Charlotte. And our CEO is Mike Blackwelder. So although we're county funded, we sit inside. We do not spend Smart Start dollars. Again, we do not fundraise like Smart Start does, but we sit inside this organization as the administrators of the program. I guess I didn't introduce myself before, but I am Mary Margaret Cantor, and I'm the Chief Early Education Officer at Smart Start. So again, we serve families from the prenatal period through a child's 5th birthday. That's our focus area. That's why pre-K is sitting inside here. So anything educational program-wise for children is pretty much my purview at Smart Start. And so obviously the biggest piece of that is administering the MECK Pre-K program. Then you see here the names of the rest of my leadership team. You'll meet one of them in a few minutes. The others are not here today, but you'll also hear about them again later when I talk about all the people that would be there to support you. We have our registration and intake director, Sharon is quality assurance and compliance. We have a curriculum director, a child development family support, a finance, and a site support manager. So, and that's just the leadership level, not mentioning all the other people. So you get lots and lots of support and you interact with lots and lots of people as part of MECK Pre-K. So now this is one of my very favorite parts of this presentation. And anytime I talk about MECK Pre-K, I love to talk about where we came from. And back in 2014, some of you may have heard of and heard of referred to as the Chetty study. So Raj Chetty is an economics researcher out of Harvard. Although he had many co-researchers on the study, because his name was first, it gets referred to as the Chetty study. In 2014, he and his colleagues did a study, and what they were most interested in was economic mobility. So they took the 50 largest cities in the United States and the 50 largest counties in the United States. At that time, Charlotte was 35th, the 35th largest city in the country. We're now 15th, just to give you context for the growth that we've experienced. And he and his colleagues said, what's the chance of a child born into low income or poverty situation in a given city and then in a given county? What are their chances of being able to be upwardly economically mobile? So in other words, move up out of that category, do better, have a better job, all of those kinds of things. And at the end of the day, at that study in 2014, Charlotte was 50th out of 50. A child born into a low income or poverty situation in Charlotte was basically not going to move out of that economic. They had the last chance, the least amount of chance to move out of that situation. So a task force was formed, and then from that task force, a nonprofit organization called Leaning on Opportunity that still operates today. Raj Chetty was in town a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to go and listen to him talk about the progress we've made. We've moved from 50th to 38th on the list, which sounds okay, but what's really okay is we moved from being the 35th largest city to the 15th. So think about how many more people we added, but then we upped children's chances of being able to move out of poverty. Now, well, let me keep going. So out of that original task force and group that was formed, one of the areas they decided to concentrate on was early education. Because what Chetty and his colleagues said is one of the best ways to move children out of poverty is from their very earliest years being engaged with children from other socioeconomic and other types of levels. That to put all poor children with poor children just perpetuates, some of the things that had already been happening. So with that focus on early childhood, beginning in the fall of 2018, MECK Pre-K was born. And it is a pre-kindergarten year for all children in Mecklenburg County. Now, the first year, there was, and I was not here at that point, I worked with MECK Pre-K, but in my previous position at Central Piedmont Community College. So I wasn't directly involved with this piece of it, but the first year it opened, anyone under 220% of the federal poverty level qualified. The next year it went up to 300%. And then we all know what happened during that year. COVID happened, things crashed and burned and, clung for their lives and all of that. And so then in the fall of 2020, when MECK Pre-K started up again, the income level, it had always been intended to be continued to be lifted up to 500% and then removed. It was just removed. So since the 2020-21 school year, there's no income cap. So our classes are truly filled with children from all economic levels, all socioeconomic levels, all cultural levels, all languages. Our goal really is to create a true universal program. We are now in year 7, operating in year 7. I should say you can see it started out there with 33 classrooms and 600 children, and we've continued to grow. This year we're operating in 107 classrooms with 1,890 children. So I don't have a prediction for you as to whether we will grow next year or not. It depends on so many things. And it's all at the will of our county commissioners. So we just keep trying to do a very good job here and create great experiences for these children and have some great outcomes and let the commissioners decide when they're ready to invest a little bit more money in us. I just want to pause there and say, even though I don't know that we'll be increasing the number of classrooms that we currently have or the number of children we're serving, because that's max. In our 107 classrooms right now, the most we can serve is the 1890. But every year we do some rearranging, some adjusting. Some places where we have a lot of classrooms, we may take some of those and move them somewhere else. So we will be selecting some new sites and we will be doing some moving around. We'll talk about that in a little while, how those decisions get made. But right now, in terms of expanding the program, well, we don't know. We wait every year to see what appetite there is for that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sharon for a while. She is our Director of Quality Assurance and Compliance. And she's going to talk to you about the actual process and what happens.
All right, thank you. So welcome, everyone. So we're going to just dive right into the site selection process. So when you go to our website, you will see all the documents that I'm going to be referring to. So the first one is the site selection decision tree. This is the form that you would look at to determine whether you are eligible to move forward in the site selection process. So,
excuse me, can we make the screen larger?
I think it's at its largest, unfortunately. You're going to be sent this after we finish. We're going to send you this presentation. I'm looking right now, but I think, yeah, it's at its largest for us. It's just that there's so much on it. Sorry.
yeah. But you'll get a copy of all these forms are located on our website.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So the first thing, we are accepting facilities that hold any STAR license in Mecklenburg County. So you may have a temporary license, a one-star license, so whatever your license is, we will accept that. You have to have 90% or higher on your licensing compliance history, like no violations for child and staff ratios or supervision of child maltreatment. Also, you have to agree that you would adhere to MECK Pre-K policies. All those policies are outlined in our site selection application, and that's the document that you will be completing for this process. You also have to guarantee that you will operate the MECK Pre-K classroom for 6.5 hours a day. And you also have to guarantee that you will provide planning time for the teachers 1.5 hours every day. So teachers work 8 hours, students are in session 6.5 hours. Then you also have to ensure that your classrooms are licensed for a minimum of 20 students with a closed classroom. So we do not look for open spaces because our curriculum is very rigorous. And so we want to ensure that students are in an environment where they can focus, because it is a process where, you know, it's like a public school, even though it's in a child care center, and that you have a restroom and a sink that is accessible for children. We also, if you have a consistent floater, someone who can help the teachers have bathroom breaks, or if you have someone who's out, you can have someone else who can substitute in their place. And then the last one is that you will have a site administrator who holds either the North Carolina principal's license or the level 3 North Carolina early childhood administrator credential, who will monitor MECK Pre-K for 40 hours. Now, we do allow the same guidelines that the child care centers have. So if you have to go off campus for a meeting, or you go on a conference, or you go to a training, we will allow some extra time, just like if you were just in your regular child care center, that you will be there on site a minimum of 20 hours a week. That does not mean that you stay home and say, oh, I don't have to work the other 20 hours. Yes, you still have to monitor the MECK Pre-K program. And when you're off campus, you have to guarantee that you will have someone who holds an administrator level decision. They do not have to hold the admin level 3, but they should be able to make administrative decisions. And then they also would be able to understand what the policies are. So where they are instructing teachers that they will adhere to the policies during the 40-hour week. So if you answered no to any of those items, you would stop the process and not move forward with completing your application. If you answered yes, then you would continue on with the process. This is the next slide. And this is where we will have a site selection subcommittee who will actually score your application. The rubric is on the website, so you can see how your application will be scored. No, it's actually this.
Oh, that's why I'm using the wrong keyboard, y'all. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Good Lord, no wonder I couldn't get it to go.
And so then the site selection subcommittee, they will conduct an announced and unannounced site visit. And then they will submit recommendations back to our office, whether they feel like your site is a high quality site and the children will flourish when they go into your site. So they're not just looking at classrooms, they're also looking at interactions between your administrators, the people at your front desk, adults, families coming in, how other teachers are interacting within your site. Then once that information is submitted to our office, we will have a meeting, and then we will make recommendations based on where children are located, and that is based on the number of applications that we receive. Now, that does not mean that if we don't have a lot of applications in your area, that does not mean that you would think, well, maybe I shouldn't apply, but you still should apply, because you may have 3-year-olds who will be able to move up into the MECK Pre-K program as long as they are 4 by August the 30th. So we also look at the number of 3-year-olds that you have at your site when determine if you would be a place where we could put a MECK Pre-K classroom. Once all of that is taking place, and you will see at the end, closer to the end, when Mary Margaret, she'll go over the timeline so you'll know about when all these decisions will be made. And then you'll also either be approved awarded with slots, or approved, awarded without slots, but on the wait list, or you would be denied based on feedback from the site selection subcommittee. And that site selection subcommittee, they are individuals who are non-conflicted. Most of them live outside of Mecklenburg County, or they have not worked within the child care arena. So you'll see key considerations in the site selection process. The first one that's kind of highlighted there, the geographic need for child placement based on the data that we get from our parents. So any questions about the decision tree? Okay. And then as you look in the application, even though it's also on the screen, you'll see tier 1, which is the areas where we have the highest need. And then you see tier 2, which is the next level of need. But like I said before, even if that zip code is not listed, and say you have 18, 20, 33-year-olds who's ready to move up, still apply, because you still have an opportunity to host a MECK Pre-K classroom at your site. And then we'll dive into a little bit of our policy. So we do have 8 policy areas. The first one outlines all the things that you need to know about classroom sites. Whether you are have one class, you're applying for one classroom, you may be applying for several classrooms, but that kind of outlines how many children, which is a max of 18 in every classroom. It talks about your compliance history, where you are now with compliance. Then area 2 is personnel. It talks about the requirements for the site administrator, the assistant teacher, the lead teacher. And then the MECK Pre-K area 3 talks about operations. Those operations just talk about how we follow CMS schedule, and then how you would also follow CMS schedule and any other operations that relate to MECK Pre-K. Then policy area 4 is compensation, gives you an overview of how you will be reimbursed. And Mary Margaret will talk more about that at the end of the presentation. Policy area 5, the curriculum and assessment. So we do use creative curriculum edition 6. So you will be required to only use our curriculum and our assessment in your MECK Pre-K classrooms. So right now we use Brigance, and we use PASS, which is a phonological awareness assessment on students. And this year we are introducing progress monitoring. So if, say for instance, you use a different curriculum in the MECK Pre-K classroom, they can only be allowed to use the creative curriculum edition 6. Then for policy area 6, that's family engagement, we do have some requirements where families have to read at least 100 books per year. They have to be involved in at least one parent event, whether they're volunteering to go on a field trip, to come into the classroom, to interact with students, to read books. They also are required to attend at least one parent workshop. So the site administrator and the teachers, they set up the workshops, and at least 3 a year, to give parents different opportunities to attend. And then so the parents are only required to attend at least one of those workshops. And then also we offer workshops that can also be counted for that also. And then we have our Ready Rosie program, and we have Marco Polo, which are some additional technology apps that will help families support their children at home. One of the great things about the Ready Rosie is that even if families have infants or toddlers all the way up to 3rd grade, they have 2-minute videos that shows them literacy skills, math skills, English skills, health skills, social and emotional skills, so they can tap into that to even help the other siblings that they have in their home. And then policy area 7 is compliance, monitoring, and evaluation. We do have a site monitoring tool where we have our admin coaches who provide support to help site administrators to ensure that they're following policy, and then any compliances or any evaluation that we may have or the county may have, where people will be in and out of your site evaluating the quality of the MECK Pre-K students. So right now we are going through an evaluation process through that the county has collected, and so hopefully they will have some great outcomes to submit to the county. to let us know that this program is really supporting students and they are ready for pre-K. And then the last policy area is amendment to our policies. And this is where if you are not meeting policies, it's like a non-compliance, and you will receive a phone call to discuss what the non-compliance issues are. And then you will receive a follow-up email. We give you plenty of support. We give you support from our, thank you.
Yeah.
We give you support from our admin coaches, like if this is your second warning and the follow-up email. And then the third one you'll see there, that's when we meet with you. We have a conference and we try to work together to figure out how can we provide additional support to you. And then step 2 is where that's the fourth occurrence of the non-compliance area. That's when you will be placed on a corrective action plan. And we also will discuss additional ways to support you. And then the third step, if the policy area is still not in compliance and the action plan has not been achieved, and that's when we will make a decision whether we would like to continue our partnership with you, whether we will renew our contract, or we will reduce the number of slots for your site. So any questions about MECK Pre-K policies?
And they're all available for you to review. They're a part of the application. They're the first multiple pages of the application. So again, it gives you an opportunity to see everything before you even apply. You can read all of our policies and intuit from that what's expected.
Right. Next one. Okay, so now we're going to dive into the site application. So the site application, you have a couple of different sections. So there are 2 sections that we have to have your signature. That indicates that you will adhere to our MECK Pre-K policies. And then the last page is that you will again have ensured that all the information that you have entered on your application is accurate. And then we have the different sections, which are the site and slot selection. That's where you will indicate how many children you are requesting, the number of classrooms that you're requesting, how many 3-year-olds you already have at your site. Then the next one is personnel, and we just want to know a little bit about what kind of personnel you already have at your site. And then support for extended wraparound care. We just want to know if you provide wraparound care, how many MECK Pre-K students would you be able to provide for wraparound care at your site? Because a lot of parents are asking for wraparound care, especially in the afternoons. And then transportation. We also want to know if you are able to provide transportation. What kind of radius would you be able to pick up students or drop off students, or do you have transportation for field trips? Then the next section is the staff evaluation and monitoring process. And we want to know, are you evaluating your current staff? How do you monitor them? And then so we just want to get a look at a picture of your site and what you're doing now to support quality. Do you offer health assessments? And if so, what types of health assessments? Are they free? Or do parents have to pay for those? And then we want to know about some of the supplies that you have. So we will know, even though we will purchase a lot of the supplies at the beginning, but we want to ensure that you can support restocking those supplies. The curriculum and assessment just talks about the same thing I just mentioned about Creative Curriculum Edition 6 and the assessments that we use. And then the last part will be compensation. And then the last one is a high quality facility. What does it look like inside of your facility? What does it look like on the playground? So we are asking all these different questions so we can have a clear picture of what your center is providing for MECK Pre-K students. And so here, as you go through the application process, you're going to see a lot of gray areas where that's where you, if you're doing it electronically, all you would have to do is click into the gray box, and then you would start typing your information. So this is just one of the sections, but all of the sections have highlighted gray areas for you to type in your information. And as you type, the boxes expand, so you should have enough room to type as much as you like. You can also print it and write in the boxes. But if you are writing in the boxes, we ask that your handwriting be in print. or be legible so that we can read whatever you're writing. So you're always going to enter this site. You're going to do all your signatures. And for the site administrator, you have the admin level 3, and then you have your designee. So your designee, again, have to be someone who has administrative rights. It cannot be your MECK Pre-K lead teacher nor your MECK Pre-K assistant teacher.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So your site administrator designee cannot be your MECK Pre-K teacher, lead teacher, nor your MECK Pre-K assistant teacher. Okay? And then so for the site selection slot information, and we're not going to go through each section, but I just wanted you to kind of get a flow of how it works. Some of the boxes you're just going to click where it says star rated license. You just click into the little gray box and you enter your information. So one of the tricky things about the boxes, like sometimes if you look, it has like a caption under it. So you have to enter your information where it says administrator name. You click on the gray box above the text, because otherwise it's going to take you off schedule.
Yeah.
So, and then some of the little boxes, you will just click and put an X, and some of the boxes you will type information. Also for policy area 7, this is additional information that we want you to be aware of. So we do require that the staff-child ratio is 1:9. So once you get the 10th child in your classroom, there has to be a second adult, and that's where this assistant teacher comes into play. You also are required to provide free meals for students. So we are going to ask you if you're on the food program, and that you're able to provide breakfast, lunch, and a snack for students based on DCDEE food requirements. Also, for technology purposes, you will also allow your teachers to use your printer on a daily basis to print things during their planning time. We will provide some support to help, some financial support on the printer costs, or copying, as maybe some of the ink. Mary Margaret will go over that later. And then also you will provide Wi-Fi in your classroom. So because we do have laptops, we have iPads. You have to do it on the
text.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the Wi-Fi is so that teachers can provide virtual field trips with students that are interested that they can go on for that topic.
Veroni?
Go up, just click up with her.
Volume?
And then go to participants.
There we go.
Yeah, there she is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then click again.
Oh, sorry.
And then that you'll use the Creative Curriculum Edition 6 for GANTS and the PASS assessment. You will only use Teaching Strategies Family app for communication with families. This app will provide teachers an opportunity to send videos, to send resources, to send newsletters, all kinds of types of documents. So this is the only app that teachers should be using to communicate with families. So if you have additional app, we're only going to be monitoring the family app that's in Teaching Strategies.
Now, is this required for the center to have a, to purchase?
No, we
provide all
purchase
this.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
we provide all
Good
of
question,
this.
thank you, yeah. No, we provide the whole curriculum, all the materials, and then Teaching Strategies is the parent company of
Right.
Creative Curriculum.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we buy that, each classroom,
Tadpole,
each
yeah.
teacher has has their access to it, and all the families, no, we pay for all that,
Awesome.
yeah.
Good question.
Yes,
And then your administrators will have a non-MECK pre-K staff who cleans the room daily. What that means is like mopping, vacuuming the floors, cleaning the restrooms, taking out the trash. Now, we do ask teachers if a child spills something or if a child has an accident, they should immediately sweep it up, wipe it up during the MECK pre-K day. But we're talking about actually taking the mopping the floor, taking the vacuum and cleaning the restroom, but at the end of the day. So we do ask that you provide a non-MECK pre-K staff to do those duties. And we also have a sheet where it's posted in the classroom. These are the teacher duties. And this is the duties that we ask our site administrators to provide. So any questions about policy area 7? Okay. And then as you are completing your site application, you'll see there may be several areas where the site application may be asking for some information, and maybe the information is all in your employee manual. So we would encourage you to only submit one employee handbook. And then when you submit that one handbook, if you put one more time, all you're going to do, one more time, sorry. Your employee handbook, all you need to do is highlight the page number in the employee handbook for the requested documentation. So you don't have to feel like you gotta put in 4 different employee handbooks when it has the same information. So you would just highlight that in the little gray box, turn to page 15. This is where my information about parent engagement is. Turn to page 20. This is where my compensation information is. So that's all you have to do is submit one employee manual.
Question.
Yes.
For us, we only provide after school right now. We don't do any pre-K or younger than 5, right? So our handbook, of course, is geared to that, towards that. So do we need to create these policies that because we went through the application and there's some things that, we will need to
Right,
create.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So what would you say?
I would say no, not a whole handbook. I mean, I would guess you already have, but,
Certain things, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would just amend what you have.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
So because we want to basically just kind of have a overview of what you're currently doing. So if you don't have a program throughout the day, then they wouldn't be able to look at that. They can't monitor that. So most of those things would be, these are some things I need to put in place if I get MECK Pre-K, but don't just create it just for our purposes.
Right.
Yes.
Because we're starting from scratch.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
difference
fine.
between the other centers.
Yeah.
That's why we have so many questions.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
That is absolutely fine.
Okay, so as you go through the application process, you're going to see areas where they're asking for documentation. So we have helped you out a little bit. We created one list. So you will need, so as you're going through, you'll be like, oh man, I missed that. Then you can look at this checklist and say, oh yeah, did I sign the completed application? 2 copies. Okay, I got that. Do I have a marketing strategy plan? Nope, so I don't need that. So you're gonna see some of them where there's no information that is applicable. You have to provide that documentation if it says if applicable. If it's not, then you can skip it. Then this right here is a list to help you ensure that all the documents that you said that you are providing, that you can provide that information. So this is a quick checklist at the end of all of that, because it's a lot of pages to help you through the process. So just check it off as you go through, and then you can ensure that you have the information that you need. And then this is the last page. So the first policies that you signed indicated that you adhere to all policies. And then this is the end, that you understand that all the information that you have entered into the application is accurate to the best of your knowledge. And that you understand in the highlighted yellow section that there will be an announced and an unannounced visit to your program. So the announced visit, they will contact you, so you'll know that they're coming. And then the unannounced visit is they will not contact you, so you won't know, because then you want to see how does it look on a normal week-to-week, day-to-day basis. And then you would sign, and then you would date, and then again, highlighted in yellow, you will see that you will have to send 2 completed applications and the documentation to our office, which is 601 East 5th Street, and then that suite 200 on the 2nd floor. By and it'll say October the 24th, because this is just a slide from the last time. But we did update that information in the new application. Okay. So just to remind you, site application and documentation submission, you must submit 2 packets by October the 25th. And you'll see packet 1, you have to have a complete application filled out and all the documents. Packet 2, same thing, complete application and all the documents. Because we have 2 site selection subcommittee members who are assigned to each site to make sure that their score is reliable. So they have to be able to see the same information in both packets. So any questions about submission of packets? So we're gonna have 2, not 1, not 2 applications and no documents, but applications and the documents. Okay. So I'm going to turn it back over to Mary Margaret.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. And for those of you that haven't been monitoring the chat, we had 2 really good questions. One was because Sharon said we asked you on the application to talk about transportation. If you offer it, tell us the details, but you do not have to offer it. I will very openly and willingly share, almost nobody offers transportation anymore. I know it became a huge liability, especially after, especially after COVID. So I will tell you, very few centers offer transportation anymore. And those that do offer it in a very limited basis, very small radius from their center. But we do ask, we're just curious if anybody is offering it. The second question, also a really good one, because we talk about this one a lot. Can the MECK Pre-K space be used for care, other care during the hours besides the 6.5 hours when it's in session? So before care, after care, or on, school vacation days or that kind of thing. Yes, it can be used. We understand that's part of your money-making space. So it can be used. It just has to be made, because again, I'll get to this in a minute, but we provide all the furniture, all the materials. We start the room off every year with a big supply of consumables. And like Sharon said, we do ask you, like, what's your process for replenishing, those consumables if they run out? So all of those things will be in the room. So we would just ask that whoever else uses it in a way that is respectful of MECK Pre-K and all of our materials that are in there. Things don't get used up and then it's not available for MECK Pre-K anymore, or that anything gets damaged. But yeah, that's just that whoever uses it leaves it ready again for MECK Pre-K when they come back in. So yeah, really good question, because that is a big part of it.
Yeah, and I want to interject a little bit. So also, if you would work with the after-school teacher and the MECK Pre-K teacher, because there are sometimes on teacher work days that teachers have to, or when the unit changes, the teachers have to change things in their centers. So maybe your after-school students can go on a field trip, or maybe they can stay outside a little bit longer. So having some opportunities for teachers to still be able to change materials and activities and bulletin boards when students are there in your after-school program. So we just ask that you just please work with them.
Yeah, good communication between the two, so nobody gets upset with anybody. So this is just a basic overview of what the process is. You're doing step 1 right now, attending the information session. And then the applications, like Sharon said, are due by October 25th. Probably within a week of that, the site visits will start. Your first one will be announced. Like Sharon said, we have an entire site selection team that is not from this county and does not work with childcare at all in Mecklenburg County, so that there's no sense of bias or cross-contamination, I guess. But the team will announce their first visit to you, but then they'll also make an unannounced visit. They owe us their list of recommendations by the end of December. So they will send us a list and they will say, here are the people that applied. These are the sites we recommend. These are the sites we do not recommend. And so as soon as we come back from the holiday, we will notify people of the approvals and denials. I want to reiterate something that's already been said, but I'm going to say it again. Like Sharon said, even if you're not in those top 2 tiers of zip codes where we really need folks, and that's based on a really kind of complicated formula that takes in the US Census, the CMS census, our applications from the year before and where we saw gaps. All of that helps us determine those most needed zip codes. Still apply because we do still need, like I said, some sites decide not to continue their relationship with us. We decide not to continue our relationship with some sites and so have to replace it in a given zip code. The other thing that happens is sometimes you're, like Sharon said, you can be approved but not awarded slots right away. But then we might be able to call you because you're on our approved list. We're just today, they're working on a brand new classroom and a brand new site. An original classroom had to leave its site. So for structural and whatever reasons. So we needed somewhere to move that classroom. Well, we had a site that was already approved and had space, so we could move them in. And what are we, 6 weeks into school? So things like that do happen. So again, if you are approved and are recommended, but don't get any slots right away, it's still great to be on that list and for us to know we've got you to call upon. So we will let you know right after we get back from the holidays. Then there's another unannounced visit, and that is by people who work, it'll be Sharon and our curriculum person, whose name you'll see in a minute. They'll make an unannounced visit, again, just to be sure that the flow of the day-to-day fits with our philosophy, and, gives the kind of vibe we needed to give, all of those kinds of things. Then we will have a required meeting for all sites that are awarded slots. That'll be sometime in the spring. We haven't set that yet, but that will happen. And then, unfortunately, like I said, we are all and we are completely at the behest of the Board of County Commissioners. And the last day of the fiscal year is June 30th. So they usually make their final budget decisions June 29th. I'm being a little facetious, but not really. It's usually by the middle of June, they make that decision. But we've pretty much been told by then, yeah, you're a go or it's for this amount of money. So, but we do have to wait that actual vote. Until that actual vote takes place, we don't know for 100% sure. But you would know by June 30th because the fiscal year starts the next day. Yes.
And when you mention if you get approved and you're waiting for slots, in the scenario that you presented, let's say we are approved, and you say, okay, we're gonna move a classroom because we need whatever happens.
Yeah.
The teachers come as well?
Sometimes and sometimes not.
Okay, so what is the time frame that the program has to hire?
We'd work with you. We almost always have a list of
Okay.
people who are looking to. So this one, in this particular case, the two teachers decided to stay with the organization and move to a different school. So they didn't come with the moved classroom, but they were able to hire not even a week.
You're actually there, still interviewing
Oh, they're interviewing right now. Okay. So this all happened last
week.
Wednesday. So we could go tomorrow when they finally said we're just not going to be able to have this classroom.
Okay.
Structurally, it's not going to be ready. So, it would be until you found someone.
So approval doesn't mean that you have to hire because you're still.
No.
slots
Yeah.
And all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would never hire until we say, and you've got 18 slots.
18 slots.
So let's hire. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let me get down to the hardcore, the thing people are always most interested in. So here's what happens. Okay, you're awarded a classroom, and with each classroom, you're awarded 18 children. Okay. So what we do is we're going to pay you an amount of money, and out of that money that we pay you, that you're going to budget and pay your own expenses. You're going to pay your teachers' salaries. You're going to pay any consumables that you have to replace or any of those sort of extra type things. You're expected to manage that money and do that. So to do all of that, we pay you, the rate this year that's in session right now is $9.25 per child per month. I will tell you, we've gone up some every year, so I don't know how much it will go up, but we have gone up every year. So here's the caveat with that. So your classroom, like we said, your classroom has to hold 18. So you've got 18 slots. If you stay at 85% of enrollment or higher, we pay you the full amount. We don't get down to child by child by child. If you've maintained an 85% enrollment rate, you're paid for the full classroom every month. If you fall below 85% overall, then we start paying you on a per child basis. So when we were talking about, when Sharon was saying in your application, we want to know about your marketing plan. We want to know how do you attract and how many 3-year-olds do you have that can automatically move into these slots? Those are all the things where we expect you to contribute to keeping your slots full. And then, of course, delivering a high quality program so parents want to stay. So that's what the $9.25 per month is, per child, or full rate if you stay at 85%. So in an 18-child classroom, that means you have to keep at least 16 slots full all the time. So it does give you some breathing room. We understand things happen. People move away, parents change jobs, and so your location is no longer convenient for them. So we give you that wiggle room. We also pay for the teacher and the assistant teacher up to $230 per month for health insurance. This can be delivered one of two ways. If the center, if you provide health insurance for the teachers, you just show us proof of that and we repay you, we reimburse you. If your teachers have their own policies or covering themselves outside of your company, this is done between us and the teacher. The teacher provides proof that they're paying, this monthly premium, and we'll reimburse them up to $230 per month. The same is true with life insurance. If you provide it, you provide us proof and we reimburse you. If the teacher is purchasing it on their own, we'll reimburse them. And finally, the same is true with the retirement and savings plan. If you have a company one that they're participating in, and the company is paying, we'll reimburse up to 3% of their earnings. If you don't provide or they have their own personal one somewhere else, again, they have to provide us proof of that and we reimburse them. So you don't have to get involved if it's personal, if it's through the company, then we'll work with you. We pay our MECK Pre-K, we pay our teachers the same as CMS, the same amount of CMS. How the CMS salary works is every year the legislature releases a salary schedule. And it says, this is the public school salary schedule. And that's the bare minimum across the state. Everybody has to pay that. And then of course it follows years of experience and increases. Most counties have what's called a lead teacher supplement. That's at the behest of the county. They make the decision. They make the decision how much. So in Mecklenburg County, there is a teacher supplement for any teacher who has 3 or more years experience. The county puts in X amount of money besides what's part of the school budget. CMS releases that schedule. That's the schedule that we follow. So we pay the amount that a regular teacher in CMS would earn. So if they have a bachelor's degree and 8 years experience, they get paid this much, whatever it might be. That's usually released. So the last 2 years, God has smiled on us and released it before school started. In the years before that, the legislature was still fighting over the base salary. One year, I think it was February, right? Before they decided on it, we then had to go back and back pay everybody. We had to back pay them the raise that they got, plus whatever amount they raised the payment to. So the last 2 years, they've been able to get it together before August, which is nice. They don't usually have it together before July when the new budget goes into effect, but they have been able to get it in place before August. So we did know exactly what those payments would be.
So when you say back pay, I'm a little confused there.
I know, it gets very
So
confusing.
no, I understand the back pay
Yeah.
part, but Smart Start back pay them, not the
We
center?
back pay you. No, you always pay them. They are always your employees. That's the other important thing to make. The teacher, the lead teacher and the assistant teacher are your employees of your center, your company, whatever it may be. But you do, because they're serving them at pre-K classroom, you guarantee us you're paying them on the public school salary schedule. But that's all between you and, now, that's where it gets tricky, is if they don't release the salary schedule, like the year until February, that was really rough on a lot of centers. You're gonna eventually get it from us. But they had to back pay all those teachers for, I mean, August, September, October, November, December, January, 7 months. They had to back pay them all, and pay them all that back pay that was due. Because the new schedule said you should be earning this much. So that was a lot of money
I know.
for centers to come up with.
Like,
So we worked it out, we did some advancing, we worked it out, and everybody got paid and everybody got what they were. But it's so much better when we get
so the teacher's salary doesn't come out from the 925 that we get per child?
that does.
It
That's,
does.
yeah. So the three things that come out of the 925 per child is the lead teacher salary, the assistant teacher salary, and any consumables you have to
Okay.
replenish. Those are the things we expect you to cover with that money. Then we give you the extra for all the benefits, the health, the life insurance, and retirement. So, we also give every, classroom $360 a year to put toward field trips. Or if you can't go out because you don't have enough transportation or whatever it might be, it's to help you reduce the cost of bringing programs in. And centers where you have more than one classroom, you can pool that money and, figure out how you want to do that. The same with printer costs. We know it's a lot, so we give you, the center director, we give you $350 per classroom to help offset the cost of the paper and the ink. If you do provide transportation, we do give you $100 per child that you're transporting per month. So again, if you're able to do it, it's there. But the other big, benefit, and again, this is thanks to the county, is if you can provide wraparound services, we pay $100 a week toward that. And that's whether the child uses 1 day or 5 days. We're still gonna give you $100 a week for that child. So that's a huge benefit for families, huge benefit for families. You are still allowed to charge the difference. So I will tell you, I think the going rate is $150 maybe. Most of our centers are charging $150 for wrap care. And so the parents do owe for the remaining $50. But for them, that's still a huge help to get that $100 a week. The other thing that's true about that $100 a week, and one of our site administrator coaches, Brittany DeLuca, life's gonna get very confusing if you join us because there are right now 3 Brittany's who play key roles. So we tend to use last names. So this is DeLuca. DeLuca was one of our former center directors that housed MECK Pre-K from when it very first began. She's a master at showing you how you can make it work economically. Between what you get per child and then that $100 per week. How to be a good, good manager of those funds. So that's how the money piece works. Everything's paid on a monthly basis. Your request for payment comes in on the 5th. I feel like it's the 5th, I think. And then we turn it around and have it back out to you by the end of the month. So.
We do have one question, but I'm not sure. Can you share the rates, a general thumb rule? But I'm not sure. That's from MT Holly? Mount Holly?
Can you clarify more what you're asking? Are you talking about the lead teacher supplement? What the rate of that is? I can tell you in Mecklenburg County this year, the starting teacher salary, so this is somebody with 0 years experience.
48,000.
48. Thank you.
And we will be sending the CMS salary schedule out after this meeting.
Yeah, just so you get a feel for what it was this year.
So that's what he was asking,
Yeah.
what is the base salary for children?
Okay, yeah, it's, the CMS this year, it's 48. So I can give you, I think the state is 41. And then our local supplement, that's what that local supplement from the county comes in. So. Next slide. Oh, you're already on it, thank you. I was not paying attention. So I said before, you get a whole lot of help. So these are all the people that provide you help. So you as a site administrator, the first two people are the most important to you. One is your site administrator coach. So this is the one who comes out at exactly what it sounds like, helps you keep up with all the requirements, all those policies, helps you with decisions you might have to make regarding MECK Pre-K, just helps you keep everything in order. Again, because we're public dollars, we're public tax dollars, we're pretty behooving to the county to provide a lot of proof. So we do ask for, a fair amount of proof, but your site administrator coach will help you, with that. And they'll help you stay ahead of things, so nothing ever creeps up on you, gets ahead of you. The other, person that will be of great importance to you is your registration and intake support person. We have 3 of those, and each of them have specific, centers that they're assigned to. So you would have one assigned to you, and that's the person who will work directly with you to do all the applications come to us. We do all the processing. We make sure parents get all the documents in that they need. We do all of that for you. And then you would just see your registration being populated, your enrollment being populated. But that person would work really, really closely with you. The next person works mainly with families. And that is our student support team, that they call the Child Development and Family Support Team. But they're there to provide support for any student who needs it in any way. So it might be with behaviors in the classroom, but it might be with identifying learning difficulties. It might be if we think the family is food or home insecure. If the family is struggling to get the child there on time, all those kinds of things. You have someone assigned to you that helps with that. You have a success coach assigned to your teachers. So they work very heavily with the teachers on everything from gathering that assessment data to what does it mean, using that data in planning, carrying out the planning, tracking student progress. They are there fully to help the teachers. They organize a lot of the teachers' PD. So that person provides, and again, they're assigned to your center, so you'll get to know them really well and assigned to help you with those things. You will also have a teacher evaluator assigned to your center. This is because our teachers have to be licensed. So in order to remain licensed in the state of North Carolina, depending on their number of years of experience and the license they hold, they have to be observed by a state evaluator anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year. So there'll be an evaluator assigned to your center. And again, they'll get to know the teachers very well. They'll work with them on all their licensing requirements and follow up with them on anything that they need to do. The finance team, like I already mentioned, they're a team of 3, and they will be there for you. Again, they will help you every month with that request for payment, making sure you have everything in you have to get in, providing all the proofs you have to provide, supporting you with all of those things. She is not on my budget or on my staff, but when that student support person discovers that a family actually really needs a little more than we can give internally in the program, she is a Mecklenburg County social worker, and she can provide and get the family access to a lot of different services. So you've got her to support you. Then every center is assigned an outside agency who will provide speech, occupational therapy, and physical therapy to our MECK Pre-K students. So at the beginning of the year, they'll come in, they will do a screening of all the children, and then any children who they feel like they got to move to the next step, which is evaluation and then potentially services. Then they'll work directly with the families, work out the insurance issues and anything like that, and then come and deliver services right at the center. So lots and lots of support for you, for the families in your program, for your teachers. Nobody's on their own with anything. So.
The student support person, they also help when a child is having attendance problem.
Yes, yes. So the student support is actually a team of people. There are 2 child development specialists. So they'll come in if there are, we have some, iffy behaviors, or we're trying to figure out where a kid's at and are there some developmental issues here or whatever. There is a child inclusion specialist who, if we discover the child needs probably a lot of extra support, probably a different setting, because we do have some specialized settings. They'll work with them on that. They'll take the parents all the way through that. And then we have the family engagement specialist who will work with all other things. Yep, exactly. This QR code will take you to our this year's parent orientation video. So when you have it's about 15 minutes long. So when you have some time, everybody I just talked about, or not everybody, but a lot of the people I've talked about in this presentation are on that. Just getting parents better acquainted with what our program is, what the requirements are. Sharon already mentioned, we ask parents to, read to your child every night, come and volunteer at the school, come to a parent workshop, all of those kinds of things. So that's in the video. General rules about food and all those kinds of things are in the parent video. So that's just if you want to watch it and see what we say to parents. And that's available to you. Cool. And that is the end of our presentation. So I am willing to entertain any questions or anything anybody's wondering about.
I do. Floater.
Okay.
Do we have to hire a floater, or can we have like a coordinator that's there full-time so they can cover bathroom
Yeah,
breaks?
that's just what we're looking for, is to make sure our teachers aren't abandoned in the
Okay.
classroom, that they can leave the room without, disrupting ratio if they need to use the restroom. Yeah, exactly.
I know that you, in the application, it talks about meetings that you have.
Yes, good point. That's not in there. We have every other month site administrator meetings.
Okay.
Those are in this building. Once in a while, they're afternoons, but most people have one in mornings because they say it's easier to be away in the morning while everything is sort of status quo at the center than to be gone in the afternoon when you're dealing with, So it's every other month. And we cover a wide variety of topics. We do a survey at the beginning of the year to say, what are you interested in and what would you like to hear about? We make important announcements. Work on things. I will tell you, we do a lot with your data. We'll present you a lot of times with, here's how the students in your center are doing. Here's where we see some gaps. What are some ways we could support teachers? What are some ways we could help them with this? But yes. Then on the off month, those are required.
Mm-hmm.
On the off months, we have a professional learning community for directors. That's run by the directors, though. We just provide them the space to do it. And it's at Park Road Baptist Church generously has donated the space for that. That's on the off months, but that's totally voluntary. If you're interested, you can go sometimes and not other times. Yeah.
But also teachers, they also have trainings.
So they have every Tuesday afternoon, they have,
Every
other Tuesday. I do that wrong every time. They have professional learning community every other Tuesday. And every other of those is in person, online. So once a month, they're in person, once a month, they're online.
Mileage.
And we don't.
You don't cover mileage,
No.
okay?
No, but they're really close. The ones in person they're all over the city. So, because they're broken up by their coach, and their coaches are in geographic areas. So it's usually a library. It's one of the rec centers we use here. They're pretty centralized. It's not, yeah.
Can planning time be during nap time?
Well, no, because there is no nap time in our schedule.
Oh, there's no nap
No.
time in your
There's a quiet time, but it's only 20 minutes long.
Okay.
And we do provide mats. That's part of the not mats, cots.
Cots, yeah.
That's part of yeah, well, it's to meet childcare requirements.
Right.
And it's part of a load-in, one of our classrooms costs us about $25,000.
Mm.
And all, like I said, it includes all the furniture, furniture, books, toys and games, I mean, everything, tablets for the children. But so including that are cots. So you do have to have a rest time, but it's only 20 minutes. And we also provide, for the classroom, this whole, set of quiet time activities. So students don't have to just lay there and stare at the ceiling. They can, yeah. So there really isn't time for the planning during that.
Most teachers do planning time, a half an hour before students arrive, and then the hour after they leave.
Yeah. And the half hour is usually any setup of the room they need to still do or get anything ready. And then the hour after is the actual planning next week's lessons. We do small groups, and those are based on, usually they're reinforcing either literacy or math skills, based on what we've assessed and what we see going on. So teachers can be planning their small groups, changing out materials, like Sharon said, so the creative curriculum, if you're not familiar with it, it's divided up into studies. And so I think we do 10 studies a year, and we change those around. It's not the same 10 studies every year. But like trees just started this week, right? Just started on Monday. We just started trees. So that'll last for about a month, and then there'll be water, and then there'll be balls, and then so with each of those, the teacher does have to change out a fair number of things in the classroom. So that's what that hour is for. So yeah, usually they spend that hour at the end.
That's all that I have. Let me see.
Okay.
Let me look at my list.
No, that's fine. This is good.
Hopefully everyone has signed in, so I can have your email, so I can send the CMS schedule and a copy of the PowerPoint with the recording. And the link is in the chat box. I put it back in there.
So, as far as supplies, you did mention that you provide everything.
Yeah.
So this is for my supervisor. She wants to know if we need to have a line item in our budget
No,
for potentially things that we might need to purchase.
that's totally up to you. How you record it for yourselves is
Right.
whatever. We just need to be sure that the supplies are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
we do
again,
look for,
yeah.
so like when your admin coach comes to do site monitoring, they do look for receipts to see like any of the consumables need to be
Replenish.
So they will look for receipts to see that it has been purchased. And then at the beginning of the school year, there's a small supply list of consumables. Even though we do the bulk, there's a small, and then they look for receipts to see that it has actually been purchased and teachers have access to it. So the only thing, so that first year, you don't have to worry about anything, but say by the end of the school year, if things are broken or misplaced, then the following school year, you would have to replace those things.
Okay.
Yeah. How you track it,
Okay.
that's entirely up to you. We don't ever look at, let me put it a different way. We never ever look at your budget. Never
Okay.
ever. So,
Right.
yeah.
I think that's all. Do you have any other programs?
Yeah.
Do you have any other programs that are similar to us that we're starting from scratch?
We have one this year. There was one this year.
Okay.
But there was nothing there, and now there's a program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, one. So, yeah, I mean, we've had experience helping you do it. So, now you said, so tell me where you're from?
YMCA.
Oh, okay. So I've been talking to, who have I been talking to?
Probably me.
No.
So many
no,
people.
no.
Adrian Hobbs.
Is that who it is?
Adrian Hobbs about transportation.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's who, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we'd already been talking, and I talked to somebody else too. Well, I talked to Sue Glass a little tiny bit about it
Yes.
one day.
Mhm.
She was in a meet, she came here for a totally different meeting, something else too, and I'm like, and so we definitely, yeah, I mean, we would love to.
We really, wait till we finish.
Yeah.
We can talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just gonna stop.
okay.
Yes.